you clicked on this video, you're probably a business owner or an agency owner who understands the importance of meta ads, and maybe it's not working for their business or their client's business. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down one of my best clients on how we took him from 6 to 7 figures in revenue this year with an extremely simple ad strategy that any business owner or agency owner can implement. So without further ado, let's get into the case study. As you guys can see, we have a tester ad set running. And that tester ad set generated 136 leads at a $3 cost per lead with only $400 spent. And the first half of this campaign was actually only running at $5 a day. And that generated around 50 to 60 leads. And when we upped that spend to $10 a day, the leads doubled. And we're going to go into the exact strategy, and it's very low cost. As you guys can see, $5 and $10 a day, that's 150 or 300 a month. And most business owners will easily spend that on any lead platform, on any advertising platform, if they know this exact strategy to implement into their business. This was our exact campaign approach when actually getting into actually running leads for this business owner and how we structure all of our campaigns for our clients. So phase one is always testing, and we don't test anything more than $5 a day because you really can't. There's a lot of restrictions on Meta in terms of targeting, demographics, who you can actually push your ad out to. So the first phase runs for around 2 to 3 weeks at $5 a day, just getting the data. Phase two is the lead form optimization. And this is where we kind of switch from traditional lead forms to a funnel, maybe a click funnel, a two-step funnel, anything simpler than having them fill out a lead form, because now we have data. We can retarget them. So that leads us into phase three, the low friction funnel with click funnels, two-step funnel, like I just said. Phase four is retargeting. We're going to go into actually retargeting the people who showed interest in phase one in our testing strategy and actually take that data and only push our ads out to them. Phase five, scaling with lookalikes and custom audiences. So now that we have all the data and the retargeting is sticking, we can up the spend, almost double the spend, depending on what you're spending, depending on what your business or your client's business is comfortable with upgrading that spend to. We're going to almost double that spend because now we have data. We know what to do. Phase six is now data-driven budget expansion. Like I said, once we have the data, we can scale up. So let's get into the first phase. Phase one is testing. So why I start at $5 a day? This is some psychology behind it. Meta gives you clean, unbiased data, which means you're basically programming it. Meta's AI is coming back to you with data. It's not being unbiased. It's based on people who have actually, you've casted your net into the data field of Instagram and Facebook, and Meta is bringing back who's actually biting, who's actually coming back as leads, who's engaging with the ad creatives, who's engaging with your content. That's how we have it. So we're not scaling based on just biased data or fake data. This is data that Meta is feeding us based on the interactions from the ads that we put out. It's a very cheap way to test hooks, creatives, and copy, because $5 a day, anyone can afford that. It's just a Starbucks coffee. And this can genuinely change a lot of businesses' lives. Also, identifying what the algorithm favors fast. So the more creatives we test in this tester campaign, the better it is, and the quicker we can actually scale up and have a data-based ad, which means when we have the data, we know what's working based on the data, have that ad, and it can run forever. And this is very valuable to businesses because when we find a winning ad, we don't stop there, but now we have an ad that prints leads on autopilot. And this is exactly what I tested for this campaign. I tested 2 ad sets, a very broad audience and a simple kind of native video ad creative. We had a lead form that basically reduced friction, not too many questions. And for the 2 ad sets, I had one based on what the business told me their ideal clientele was, and we programmed that into Meta. And then I had another ad set to where now Meta's AI is deciding. So it was very broad. I let Meta's AI kind of decide who's actually biting, and then we can cross test them. And when we come out with the 2 winners, now boom, we have a winning ad that we can upgrade to the scaling campaign. The results from the testing campaign. So the CPC was extremely low, as well as the cost per lead. The algorithm found the right pockets very, very quick, which means we had these ads. We tested at least 10 creatives. We tested actually 15. And it was very apparent which ones were winners because they got the most spend, they got the most leads, they had the lowest CPM, and they had the lowest cost per click. It was very clear, and when we identified that winning ad set, we just simply scaled it from $5 to $10 a day. And as you guys can see, going back to it, this ad set performed unreal. We had 136 leads at $3 per lead. And keep in mind, guys, these aren't just people like on Google where you're just clicking on the website. These are people who filled out a 3-question quiz, consented to giving us their information, and then submitted a whole form. So this is not cold leads. These are people who actually went in and filled out these lead forms. And we only spent $400 to generate 136 pre-quiz leads, which is unreal. We're going to break down the winning ad set. So high performing ad sets use basic lead form. They targeted a broad location, which means we let Meta's AI kind of distinguish who is our target audience, who's biting from these hooks and these lead magnets we're putting into the algorithm. We had a clean, simple copy and a fair value proposition. It wasn't crazy. A kindergartner can understand our offer. And Meta basically rewarded us with that simplicity, with a lower CPM, lower cost per 1,000 views, and a lower cost per lead. Now, phase 2, why the lead form comes first. So lead forms are the lowest friction. It's on Meta, so Meta will optimize it, especially when you're testing, and there's not really any loading screens. You click on it, and it goes right to the form on Meta. It's not taking you to an external site. It's super, super easy. And Meta favors in-app conversions, okay? And we'll go into why we want to switch from this in the scaling campaign later on. So the optimizations I made, it was a shorter lead form. There's only 2 to 3 questions, mostly multiple choice, one long answer. And these questions qualify the prospects based on the acquisition process of this business owner. And it also had a clear offer. Phase 3. So once the winner was found, I simplified the funnel even more. The funnel setup was scroll stopping headline, so very easy value proposition, a very easy value driven explanation in the primary text, and the 2-step form, so name, email, and phone number. So I simplified it even more once we had the data, because when we're getting the data, we want to ask a few more questions to know who's actually biting, what gender, what age category, what areas are they actually biting in, and then we can shorten the form and basically retarget based on the people who actually filled out the form, which is very powerful. Meta is known for the retargeting, the lookalike, and custom audiences. Low click distance, so which means higher conversions. So what do I mean by that? I mean that the less amount of questions that we add to this form, the more conversions we'll get, because the higher volume of leads, because it's easier to fill out. People are lazy, everyone knows this. We have a goldfish brain in terms of scrolling TikTok all day, scrolling Instagram. People don't have the attention span to fill out a massive thing. But if we make the problem big enough and we retarget correctly, then their pain point is going to be solved even easier, which just means higher conversions. We have a faster and cleaner user experience, especially on lead forms. And why we do this is because we already have the data. Like I said, we're now just retargeting people who have engaged with the tester campaign at $5 a day. And we're now optimizing that with a ClickFunnels 2-step funnel, which means it's so much easier to actually go in. It's so much easier to actually convert with. So it's also easier for the client to maintain the incoming leads, because we have to look at the spend. If we spent $5 and we got 5 leads at a $2 cost per lead, you have to look at the client or your business's sales team. Can you maintain doubling the price and getting anywhere from 10 to 15 leads a day, depending on if that ad keeps performing? Can you maintain all those leads coming in? Probably not. So we have to factor that in. And that's exactly what we did. We didn't upgrade from $5 to $50 a day. We upgraded from 5 to 10, which is very apparent. $3 cost per lead. You guys can do the math on how many leads we were able to bring in every single day for this business. And why this works. It reduces the friction. It reduces the bounce rate, which means people that just go to your site almost fill out the entire form and then just leave. And it increases the time on page, which on paper it doesn't, but cost per lead, it reflects that. And this creates a more predictable experience because now we know, okay, we have the data to actually scale this. Now we're going to go into the retargeting campaign. So high performing ad set identified. So this is my exact retargeting setup I did for this business. I retargeted the video viewers 25% and over, the page engagers, so people who maybe filled out the form. We created a custom audience, which means when they filled out a form, Meta's AI will create an exact lookalike of that demographic of person and only show your ad to those type of people. We retarget our Instagram and Facebook profile visitors, our lead form openers, our funnel page visitors, which is very important because if they actually went to that funnel, they looked it over for more than 10-15 seconds, we're going to retarget them because they were interested. And the way you distinguish people who accidentally click on it is if they're on that site for more than 10 seconds. That's usually my catalyst to retarget those type of people. The ad types used, so we had a trust-based content, social proof. So who is this ad for? Who is it helping? And who has it helped? And this creates social proof because they're seeing exact people in their situation being helped by this product or service, and it's making them more inclined to actually go and buy. That builds social proof. We created a lot of scarcity saying last chance, limited availability. Those style of hooks really engage people because everyone knows in advertising and marketing, scarcity is very important. Creating that scarcity factor will make people act quick. Phase 5 is creating the lookalikes. So now scaling with meta lookalikes. So I built my list from leads actually coming in, CRM conversions. We're actually creating a lookalike audience, which Meta actually creates who bought from you or who added your product to cart. And then we'll actually only target people of those similar interests. I touched on that on the last slide. The lead form submissions are very, very good because they're high intent. And we retargeted those form openers as well. Video viewers past 25%. And the pixel. If you guys don't know what a pixel is, basically Meta has you install this on your website. If you're running traffic to a website, like a ClickFunnels, like we went over to on the last slide, and we basically retarget them who's on that site for over 10-15 seconds. And you only can see that data if you install Meta's pixel. So why this works? So Meta builds a cluster of people most similar to your best users. So like I said, targeting gets smarter, costs decrease as algorithms find your pattern of people who are actually biting from the ads you're putting out. So phase 6, scaling strategy. How I scaled after validation. So how do I actually choose these ads, and how did I choose for this client the ads that actually perform the best? And I'll tell you, it's because Meta's data. Meta is a data soldier. It gave me the data. Okay, this specific ad set with these 3 ads got the most amount of leads, the most amount of shares, the most amount of saves, the most amount of website visitors, lowest cost per lead, lowest cost per click. So obviously I'm going to increase the budget gradually, and the clients and business owners and agency owners watching this should understand that you're not scaling campaigns without data. And especially for business owners watching this should give you peace of mind because Meta is just giving you data and you're scaling only based on data. Of course, if you have no ads that are performing for a month and they're getting 1 to 2 leads, obviously you're probably going to have to change your creative or funnel. And we see that happen very often. Horizontal scaling into new audiences. So this means actually going from a tester campaign, scaling it to a scaling campaign. My philosophy behind it is don't scale the budget, scale the winners, scale with simplicity. Like I just explained, you want to scale with predictable data so you're not just wasting money and throwing money at Meta. And the final campaign metrics were cost per lead was $3, the total number of leads was 136, and the total spend was $414. And the reach of the people, the CPM, 26,915. And the consistent performance was no significant. The CPM didn't raise, it didn't lower, it stayed very consistent because we only scaled the winners. So why the system worked for this client, and it's been working for all of my clients. So it's very low friction, it's very easy to understand. There's not much cost, so there's not much barrier with business owners actually trying this, agency owners actually pitching this. There's not much friction with it. And the algorithm trusts, and building trust with the algorithm equals cheaper conversions, not rushing into scaling, getting the data and the scaling based on the data, and just creating simple creatives. And no, don't overproduce creatives. Just understand your target audience and make content with them, show results, and just remember this framework. You're creating ads for who's your target audience, how does it help them, and who does it help? That's all you need to know when creating an ad with that framework. That's what I've been able to do. It's been able to change some of my clients' lives completely and their businesses, taking them from 6 to 7 figures. And just understanding that lookalikes will fill the funnel with warmer traffic because it's people who have already engaged, showing an interest. So that is very important to add into your funnel, those lookalikes, and we went over that on the last slide if you guys want to rewind and watch that again. The outcome of this client was now he has predictable lead flow, lower cost per acquisition, and the pipeline was full of qualified customers. And it was so clear for him because he had trackable data in the ads manager. He knew what to do. We knew what to scale. We talked to him very closely. And the entire system now is scalable month over month. So now we have winning ads. We don't have to touch them. They're constantly printing leads month over month without us having to do anything except maybe up the spend if he wants more leads, hires more sales reps. It's very predictable. And this gives the client and business owners watching, it gives you guys peace of mind, which allows you to focus on what you do best, which is actually grow the business. that is it for the video, guys. That was a pretty simple case study. And if you guys want to see more case studies like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and send this video to someone who could benefit this if they're a business owner, agency owner. And I'll see you guys on the next video.